What's popping, y'all? One of my favorite developments of this year is Young Thug's. We know Young Thug didn't change, but he's displaying a level of maturity that I don't think a lot of people are recognizing. So the other day, Lil Baby, who we know is locked in with Young Thug. Lil Baby abandoned Gunna, who they were one hell of a duo. If we're talking 2020s, like 2020 to 2023, man, that duo was on a tear. Actually, matter of fact, we call it from 2019 really to 2022, 2023, they were on a tear. But recently, Lil Baby has been on tour, and he brought out none other than YFN Lucci in Atlanta. So a little bit of background story for those that may be like, oh, what's the big deal about this? YFN Lucci was basically Young Thug's biggest op. They went to jail. Both Ricos, they went to jail because YSL was beefing with YFN. And a lot of evidence that was brought out during the YSL case was about Thug taunting YFN Lucci. I think he even got his mom's house aired out. There were several people that died behind this. So a lot of people were shocked to see YFN Lucci brought out by Lil Baby, because Lil Baby's locked in with Thug. There's no way that Lil Baby would abandon him, would betray him, and that's why this was a topic of conversation. So a lot of people started asking questions. YFN Lucci, he actually came out, dude stood tall, did not say a single word. He was quiet as a mouse, ironically, because everybody else was ratting and he didn't tell on anybody. So this actually harmed his career a lot, but he came out with a song called January 31st, My Truth, a couple of weeks ago. It was on May 23rd. And in this song, he talks about one of the hits that happened where he was driving in a Maybach. So he drove to the opposing hood in a Maybach, and his homies were in the back to do a drive-by, and then one of them got popped in the head. And then they kicked him out the Maybach. He was hanging outside the Maybach, still alive. They kicked him out, and then some lady was like, yo, this guy just fell out of this Maybach, and they drove off, skirt, like the songs say, and they just abandoned that guy. Couldn't take him to a hospital or nothing. It is what it is. Obviously, them taking him to a hospital wouldn't have been a good idea, because then they're cooked as well, even though they ended up going to jail anyway. But he raps about it, and he says, rest up because your grandson made it this far. Hey, I'm just glad his last ride was the back of a back. He was something like Cam Newton, had a whole lot of hats. And he's talking about, the guy, he caught a lot of bodies, and he got a head tap this time. So it just came back around. He's like, I've been a big dog fool. I was never a rat. He's just talking that street stuff. It is what it is. And then everyone was just waiting for Young Thug's response. Me, for sure. I was sitting there like, yo, hold on. How's Thug gonna handle this? Well, Young Thug posted Lil Baby to his story after Lil Baby brought out YFN Lucci. And it was a post of Lil Baby with a bunch of stacks of money on the bed. And this shows it's a positive post as well. So it's clear that I wouldn't say that this beef is necessarily squashed between YFN Lucci and Young Thug. But I think Young Thug is twofold. Young Thug is banned from Atlanta, if you guys don't recall. He's not allowed to go there for, I don't know what period of time it is. The guy's on a 15-year probation as well. He was saying some other stuff that they tried to revoke his probation with on Twitter. But Young Thug, clearly, we know he hates Gunna. And Young Thug hates rats. But he found out that he was surrounded by rats. So whilst I don't think Young Thug and YFN Lucci are ever going to be locked in, yo, that's my brother, they're going to be dapping each other up, I think he's trying to show to the government in Atlanta, the local police and everything, yo, I'm not here trying to continue this beef when we're both out and free. And I've changed, and I left that in the past. For example, YFN Lucci, people just portrayed him as a victim, but that guy he was getting busy as well. He just suffered more damage on his side, and he was a smaller rapper than Young Thug, fame-wise, too. So that really harms you, kind of like it harmed Rich Homie Quan. A lot of blackballing happened to Rich Homie Quan because of who he was affiliated with, which was Donovan P. Nutt, who got killed. So I think Young Thug is trying to show them hey, this is cool. But I also think Young Thug is sending a message to where behind the scenes, I think he's cordial with YFN Lucci, as in, yo, we don't got to continue this. That type of, it's like a treaty, ceasefire. We could call it a ceasefire. That would be the best way to describe it. Because oddly enough, I believe that Young Thug has more respect for YFN Lucci right now. Because Young Thug is looking at it like, hold on. I was sending people to do drills on this guy's mama's crib. This guy's homies. People died on his side. And when he had the opportunity, he didn't point the finger at me. He didn't take the stand on me. He didn't try to do anything. He just sat down, stood tall, stayed gangsta for real. Meanwhile, the people that I put on, that I dragged out of the mud, out of Cleveland Ave. I mean, both Clevelands suck, let's be honest. Cleveland Avenue and Cleveland, Ohio, whatever came out of there. I know we got some Cavs fans that's going to go crazy with that comment. But let's be honest, like Cleveland, Ohio, it's not quite a destination. Not many places in Ohio are. No disrespect. So I think Young Thug is looking at it like, yo, you've got the Yak Gottis, you've got the Gunnas, you've got the YSL Woodies, you've got even, I think, Thug's own brother. What was it? You've got Unfunk. Like, we've got so many people that we can list that we're looking at their paperwork and they're the types of quote-unquote pleas that they're taking. We're like, man, everybody's just biting cheese. There's no cheese left for the head honcho, like Master Splinter, Young Thug. And I'm not saying that because Young Thug is a rat. I'm saying, like the head honcho, they didn't even leave him a piece of cheese. They were just like, hey, man, we might leave you here starving in these sewers while we go up and we're in a new cage as pet rats at this point. So I think Young Thug is looking at it like, damn, I had this all wrong. F everybody that was around me. You see Young Thug's been building up a new roster too. I don't see him talking about, who was it? Duke, YSL Duke was one of them. I don't know if he was one of the people that told. I'm not alleging that. I don't have that information at the top of my head. But he's building up a new roster, which I like. And Young Thug, this is another thing about Young Thug. He's always been somebody to help somebody. And when he brings up his own artists, it's not almost. He lets them use anything to do with his brand. He's like, oh yeah, you want to rip my previous albums? Go ahead. And I think that just shows why so many people, like anybody that I've spoken to behind the scenes, whether it be rappers or producers, they have only had positive things to say about Young Thug. And yeah, Young Thug was getting busy in the streets and all that, but in terms of business and music and opportunity, all of them spoke highly of Thug. They were like, yo, Thug's always trying to make sure people are solid. And if you think about it, how Thug came into the game, he was really inspired by Lil Wayne. And he made that Barter 6, and he was trying to get Wayne's attention. And Wayne kind of shunned him in the beginning. And he was really, really hurt by that, so much so that he sent somebody to air out Wayne's tour bus alongside Birdman. But I think now when Young Thug is in that position, he's like, yo, all my youngins, especially if y'all are assigned to me, like, yeah, take my inspiration. Like, do the similar album covers to me. Take my style. Take my flows. Use similar beats that I used in the past. Use that nostalgia factor of when I first got into the game and blew up 10 years ago to build yourself up. And in turn, of course, help our whole roster. Go ahead and do that. I feel appreciated. And that's somebody that's really secure in their position, but also generous, because like somebody's art and what they've produced is really, really close to them. And even if it's somebody that you taught, you're like, damn, dog, like don't bite me that hard. Pause. No Diddy, no Cousin on that. No Yeezy, no Ye. So this circles back to, yeah, Young Thug's got to be a great guy, man. Like, sure, the guy's a demon. Absolute total demon, for sure. But there's this element, and there's this one thing that I always just respect, is that when somebody's got a principle about them. And for him to not get emotional about this Lucci situation with Lil Baby, and for sure Lil Baby had to run it by Thug first. Not that Lil Baby's a punk or, he has to make sure everything's cool beforehand. It's just a respect thing. And it's an Atlanta show. That's a really, really, really big show. And that's a big homecoming, because if Young Thug was able to go to Atlanta, he would have brought out Young Thug, Lil Baby, for sure. But I don't, like I said, I see this being a Jeezy / what's his name again? A Jeezy / Gucci Mane situation where it has to be a ceasefire, a bit of a stalemate. I don't think there should be any attempts at getting these two people to work together or anything like that, because it would make YFN Lucci look like a bit of a punk. Like, remember when they did the verses with Gucci Mane and Young Jeezy? Like, there was somebody that died behind this, and Gucci Mane was the person that, laid him down, although they were sent to, end Gucci Mane. But when we came out of that verses, we were like, yo, Gucci's still not playing about this. Like, yeah, he got on stage, but he made sure to let it be known that he wasn't boys with Jeezy, and he had to assert himself a little bit. And Jeezy just tried to make it seem like, okay, like Jeezy had moved on. And the image that a lot of people got was that, yo, Jeezy was mature now and he had grown past this. But a lot of people also saw Jeezy in a negative and a funny light after that, and less quote unquote gangsta from when he was first coming out as the Snowman, which it depends on your own perspective. But it seemed like people that were closer to the streets were like, yo, Gucci Mane really like kept it solid. Like, yeah, he tried to be cordial and handle business, but you know, somebody died about that. And Jeezy, he just let himself get punked out there on stage. And then, you know, people that are a little bit further away from the streets are like, Gucci Mane went a little bit too far. This was a moment that should have been shared by everybody, including the fans, and he didn't need to bring negativity or shine a light on that negativity. And I can see both perspectives, but I don't really see that happening with YFN Lucci and Young Thug. I just think it's a respect thing from far away, and you can respect people that you don't like. Matter of fact, you can respect people that you hate. And that's a lesson a lot of people should learn. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all in the next one.